Okay, hello everyone. So I wanted to stop in and just share a QHHT session excerpt that I did just this week. That was really neat. So just a reminder, my QHHT sessions are my 5-hour sessions. So the hypnosis process is about 2 hours as opposed to my 30-minute sessions, which are just a light state of trance that goes through a quick 20-minute hypnosis. The QHHT sessions are a deeper state of trance, and so we get to really explore the past life a lot more, so more in depth, and get a lot more answers. So I wanted to share, I got permission to share this past life excerpt, so I was just going to kind of walk you through it with one of my clients this week. So it was my client. The opening scene that he went to was he was walking around kind of a community. This was in a time where there were no streets, there were no roads. It was just kind of, worn down grass. It was small cottages, very simple. He had a kind of a raggedy robe on. Very, very simple times back when there were, blacksmiths and such. So the opening scene, he's walking around and he's just enjoying observing the community, which it's interesting because in this scene, it's not like he was conversing with anyone. He didn't really know anybody. He was just really enjoying watching what was going on. So as an observer. We went to his home. His home was a small cottage, red front door, very, very simple inside, kind of essentially a one-room cottage. It had a old steel fireplace that was going with a pile of wood that was stacked next to it that he had chopped down a tree and gathered it. He had like knickknacks around that he noticed within the house, knickknacks that he had made, little rocks that he had collected. So it was very much, his aesthetic, just kind of miscellaneous, simple things. He made it clear there was no electronics. There was very, very simple times. He lived alone. He had a dog there with him, so he did have a dog as a companion. In this place, he also we explored a little further, and he had like goats there, just as kind of pets outside. When we looked at also something significant about his home was it wasn't in the community. It was far out from the community. He had left the kind of hustle and bustle of the community in order to be by himself. So he left that community, went out in the woods. He said there weren't any like paths or anything getting to his home. You needed to basically walk through the woods to get there. Very secluded, and he wanted it that way. He wanted to be completely self-sufficient. He was kind of just away from everybody. When I asked about his occupation, he's a blacksmith, but the difference is he had like a shed set up in his backyard where he had benches in there, tables that he had made. He would make swords, pots, and pans, but it was very clear when he was describing it that he made them for himself. And so I asked if he made anything for anybody else, like if people paid him to make things. He said no. It was just basically whatever he needed. He was very self-sufficient. He would make what he needed to make, and he would hunt for the food that he needed. He was completely self-sufficient. He did say that if someone were to ask that if he could make something, he would make it. But it's not like he was the town's blacksmith, So that was his occupation. First important day that he went to was when he was a child. He was just outside. He was in the community. He was back, living with his dad. His dad was around, his dad was also a blacksmith. So his dad was out working on something, and this little boy was just playing with friends, playing with some sticks he had found. Again, just raggedy robes, not a lot of money, obviously, so he was out playing. Then he kind of fast forwarded a little bit. Also, there's a sense of being very free. So that was important to note. And then he fast forwarded a little bit to when he was a teenager. And this time he was learning how to blacksmith for the first time. So his dad was showing him how to make a sword. And he noted that he struggled sometimes with understanding, and he really had to be told, a few different ways before he completely grasped the concept. And so as he was learning how to make this sword, he was getting very frustrated with himself, because he said that he kept trying to kind of shortcut it and do it his own way, kind of try and find a faster way to do it. And he was getting really frustrated because, again, it's the first time he's making a sword. And so, of course, it's going to not go perfectly, but he was getting frustrated that it wasn't perfect. And so he was feeling like he was getting really hard on himself. So before he ended up completing it, his dad was like, it's okay, just, go take a break, go play, because he could tell his son was getting very frustrated and hard on himself. So he ended up stopping and leaving it and going to play. So he went down to the river, which it's interesting to point out too that my client in this current life has struggled with not following through on projects. And just there's this I just have so many projects I want to get done, but I can't seem to get them done, and I'm not sure why. So that was interesting. It was an interesting parallel. So anyways, he gets kind of frustrated, so he ends up going down to the river, where he's kind of playing by the water, feeling still very frustrated. He can't stop thinking about how he failed, or how, he could have done better, and just these thought forms going through his mind, about how he wasn't good enough, basically. And so in order to kind of forget about that and those thoughts, he decided to go find some friends to play with. And that's important because also in this life, this particular client talks about how he likes to have people around all the time. He really, really enjoys having friends around, and he wants to just be with people. And that kind of correlates with, in this scene, this teenager, in order to kind of quiet down those thoughts of, I'm not good enough, I failed, didn't work. He ends up finding a way to shut down those thoughts by going to play with people, go play with his friends, which he ended up going to play tag or climb trees with the friends of the neighborhood. So it is a current behavioral pattern that he has maybe picked up from this past life, which would explain why he does what he does. And now that he knows that, he can be more aware of when that happens, to maybe, okay, instead of going to find someone to play with, maybe I can go back and try doing the project a different way, maybe not shortcutting it this time, and maybe just focusing a little bit more and realizing it's going to take some trial and error, but I can do it, So that was interesting. Next important day, he went to his, it was his sister's wedding, which was at his home that he had built. It was outside. What was interesting about this scene is that, excuse me, he had built the wedding arch that they were getting married under, and he had also built all of the chairs for the guests. So that was really cool. I mean, it was really clear in this life that he had a lot of skills. You know, he was really good with his hands, working with his hands. So he had all of these skills and he could utilize them. Not only did he make the arch that they were married under and the chairs, but he officiated the wedding. He was the one doing the union for them. Also, he made their wedding rings, and that was a surprise for his sister. He hadn't showed her yet, so during the ceremony, it was really noticeable that he got really, he was really touched by the joy that she felt when she saw those rings, because she started crying when she saw them, he started crying, and so it really brought him a lot of joy. Also throughout the ceremony, he just kept saying, I just can't get this smile off my face. I'm just so happy. It just makes me so happy to see my sister, you know, in a place where she's come so far and she's happy and she's found someone that's a really good person. And so that was really beautiful. He enjoyed, you know, doing, excuse me, doing things for others. You know, that was something significant that we'll talk about later. But so then his last day that we went to, he was still at the home that he had built. He was all alone. He had had a wife, but she had passed away. And he was just kind of sitting there wondering what he could have done different in his life. So it was, again, this cycle of, you know, I didn't do what I needed to do. I should have done things different. It was notable that he really dwelled on his past a lot and questioned a lot. He was questioning why he decided not to have kids, because now he's lonely. He's questioning why he didn't make more friends in the community. You know, he was feeling this very lonely feeling. He was saying he didn't really do a lot these days. He was still strong enough to take care of what he needed to take care of. But his life was very much just on autopilot. It was just the same old thing, you know, and it was circulating around himself a lot, just taking care of what he needed to take care of. And he was saying that he didn't make the right decisions in life. Because of fear of getting out of his comfort zone. So he was really feeling this guilt about not taking chances in life, you know, letting that fear keep him in this autopilot, keeping him from getting out of that comfort zone. And he just kind of stayed in what he knew would work, you know, what he needed to do to keep himself alive and survive, and he didn't ever take a chance on doing anything different or outside of that. So then his very last breath, he was outside laying in the leaves, and he just, you know, ended up taking his last breath there. Once his soul left the body, it kind of was, it didn't leave Earth right away. It kind of hovered over the community, which was interesting. He was kind of just noticing that nobody in the community even noticed he was gone. Now, that's significant, because you think as a soul, you would hope that people realize when you're gone. And that's one thing he noticed as he was hovering around the community, that nobody even noticed he was gone. So it means that's how secluded he was and had kept himself from the community. You know, if no one notices that you're gone, that means you weren't really part of much. So the life lesson for that life was that he should have expanded his life more and not just settled for what he thought was best for himself. He should have let more people in and, excuse me, been a bigger part of the community. He should have used his skills to help more people because he had so many skills. I mean, we saw it with his sister's wedding. He was able to make pretty much whatever he needed to make. He could have used those skills to help and connect with people in his community. But he decided not to. He decided to stay in that comfort zone and not to help other people. So that was the life lesson, was he should have tried to do more for others in his community. It turns out that at the beginning of his life, he had been giving a lot of his energy to everyone else while he was within that community, and that's why he ended up leaving and kind of moving to the woods to find that peace and that calm. But he ended up shutting himself off too much. That's the problem. Is it was good that he went to and removed himself to find that inner peace. However, once he did that, he should have shared then his gifts with those people still, because we saw at the beginning of the life, he really enjoyed seeing and observing the people, but for some reason he let himself get shut off because of that hurt that he had experienced earlier in his life. And he kind of lost that trust in people. So he should have kind of, stepped back into that role of being a part of the community after he found that peace. So after he left Earth, he ended up floating up into outer space, and then he finally found his spiritual team. Typically, that's how it goes. The soul leaves, it floats up, essentially its frequency is rising, and then there's a spiritual team that is waiting there to kind of talk about what happened, talk about the life. When he finally found these beings, he noticed that they were very noble, felt very royal. He basically said, I know that I need to listen to these beings. They're the ones that I need to answer to. So when we asked why, he saw all of these beings, and they were discussing where to put his soul next. Basically, they were discussing whether to give him a second chance to make an impact, to try again, to go back and make the world a better place by using his gifts and his skills. So it was really them kind of discussing how they're going to do that. So that was interesting. Now, I asked why he needed to see this life, and it was to allow him to realize that there's more that he can offer. He needs to be sharing, especially with other men, how he's found the peace that he's found, because this particular client has overcome a lot in his life and is doing really, really well finding his own peace and his spirituality, and he needs to be able to, start opening himself up for other people to learn from, how he's used his past to heal and to find that peace. That's why he needed to see this life, because this time around he does need to really use his gifts to help, and he's doing a great job at that already. But he is still clinging to some of that comfort and stability that he was excuse me, that he was in that past life. And so it's time for him to really start expanding a little bit more and sharing his gifts again. But in order to do that, they were saying that he does need to take that step that he did in this past life, where he removes himself first from kind of the chaos of the community, if you will. So he does need to kind of take that leap of faith to step out, connect back with nature, maybe move out of the city a little bit, which is a big thing for him. So in order to share his gifts this time around, he needs to take that step in order to find that inner peace by moving away, moving kind of out of the hustle and bustle. So that's where that comes in. Those are the parallels that he's going through. But yeah, it was just a really beautiful reminder that we are here to share our gifts. We're here to not only just take care of ourselves and survive, we're here to help make the world a better place, help to make an impact, share what we have to give. So many of us just cling to, I just need to survive, I just need to get myself through, I just need to take care of my, small little family. But we're here to help shine that light so that, we can help others with what we've been through. And, if anyone is kind of finding themselves getting too comfortable just being on your own, doing your own thing, maybe this is a good reminder to step out and make some changes that might make a bigger difference, make a bigger impact on the world around you, because gosh, we all have so many gifts to share and they're so unique, and the world is begging for them right now. We really, really need to share those gifts with the world. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you want to schedule your own QHHT session, it's really, really eye-opening and life-changing and beautiful, to connect with your own subconscious, to get those answers. You can do that by visiting my website, CaseyConstant.com, booking your session through that. That's the easiest way to do it because it's such a big session for a QHHT session. Otherwise, you can stop in and see me at Divine Lights in Anoka. You can come in for a walk-in 30-minute session. That's a great way to just kind of dip your toes in the hypnosis water, and try that out, see if it's something you vibe with. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.